Hi, Maryn here from Indie Birth with a Friday Radical Birth Love blab session. So totally informal, just going to pick a topic from our Birth Warrior Project and our amazing doulas that are enrolled there, and thanking them in advance for giving me something to talk about today. So yes, indeed, this topic is so important, and we're going to hit on 5 aspects at least of nutrition during pregnancy. So again, thanks to our Birth Warrior Project and one student in particular that posted this week about all of the knowledge and learning she's encountering in the course. I think she specifically said the information was blowing her mind, not just the depth of information that we have out there, but talking about all the aspects or many of the aspects that we use to support women with nutrition, whether we're midwives or doulas. And also the fact that many people out there who are also supporting women in their own way really don't touch on this topic. So it sounds so basic, but it's actually not. And if you're a birth keeper, a birth worker, a midwife, a doula, whatever word you want to use, or if you're looking to get into this line of work, nutrition is just something you have to talk about. So why? Why is it important? Again, sounds so basic, and for many of us, it's just common sense that what we put into our bodies, especially during pregnancy, and how we nourish ourselves on every level would certainly have an impact on the health of the pregnancy and also the birth and mothering. It's a really far-reaching topic, even though we tend to focus in on the pregnancy time. So, pregnancy nutrition allows women some of the most control and powerful moments in pregnancy. We certainly don't control birth. We just don't. There's so much in the experience that we don't have a lot of say in. But what we put into our bodies or what we don't put into our bodies, how we feel supported, again, how we nourish ourselves in other areas of life, that is completely or almost completely as in control as we can be in the pregnancy experience. And of course, if you're a midwife, if you work with a midwife, if you've had midwifery care and you had a midwife that addressed this topic and provided really great support, you hopefully noticed a difference in your experience, just how you felt overall. Nutrition can affect so much, not just our physical well-being, but also our mental, our emotional well-being. It can obviously affect the birth experience, and that's why, as independent midwives, we don't take credit for the wonderful births that we get to witness, but we do see that focusing on nutrition and supporting a woman in that way really does produce the best outcome. So that's all on the women. They're the ones eating. They're the ones doing the work, but support, information, and guidance can be crucial. So I want to keep this short and just cover 5 things to keep in mind, 5 things that came to my mind immediately when I was wanting to talk about this today. And of course, knowing that there's so much more depth here. There's always more to learn, and each woman you work with is unique. So we're just going to keep this simple. And if you'd like to dive deeper into this topic, we have so many free resources, podcasts, also our Birth Warrior Project, where the doulas are doing this work, and of course the midwifery school, where the students are going even deeper. So let's see. One thing to keep in mind when working with women around nutrition as a doula or a midwife, there is no right. There really isn't. And I've been blessed here in Sedona to work with so many different types of eaters. So we have the vegans, we have the paleo people, we have people that don't necessarily fit into any category. I've worked with women who eat all kinds of different ways. And there is no right way to do it. And that's something that's been really humbling to learn and experience over time as a midwife. So my job is to support each woman uniquely. However, information and knowledge, I think, is super helpful and can be crucial for a lot of women to just understand, frankly, the nutritional needs during pregnancy. Now, I'm not going to cover those here, but a pregnant body is not a non-pregnant body. It's just not. So however this woman chooses to eat in whatever fashion, with whatever method, it still needs to meet the requirements of pregnancy and, of course, of her own body. So information gives us some guidelines. The brewer diet is one thing that we often talk about, but it's not rigid. When working with women around the topic of nutrition, we have to be able to be fluid. We have to be able to go with them where they're going, and also, kind of create some signposts for them to maybe latch onto or dig deeper. So there is no right. That's kind of the first little tip there. The second one is that I wish eating were simple, but it's not. And I think anybody here listening, as a woman especially, could attest to the fact that there are struggles. There are mental and emotional struggles around food. There are cultural norms. There's an idea about weight loss and weight gain. I could go on and on. And again, that's not what this video is about, but we have to be sensitive to the depth of wisdom and experience and possibly trauma that each woman brings to the table when we begin to, peel away the layers of what she's eating and why. So again, more than I can go into here, but I wish it were as simple as just handing someone a checklist of foods to eat and, helping them check it off. It's very, very rarely like that. So this is for birth workers, of course, that want to dig a little deeper with people. They realize that food is, yes, a physical object, but it is an emotional, spiritual, and often mental issue for so many women. So we have to be able to go there and at least have basic information and knowledge and counseling skills, really, to be able to support women in the really messed up culture of food that we live in. All right, tip number 3 about nutrition is, this is 4. I've already done 3. We need to treat each woman as a unique being. Even if we've worked with this woman before, this pregnancy is different. This baby is different. She has different needs just by virtue of being pregnant again. So we're looking at all kinds of factors when counseling or advising or even just giving feedback. Is she still nursing a baby? What's her stress level like? Is she working? How many kids does she have? What time of year is it? Is she running around and super stressed, or is it the time of year where she's kind of hunkered down and not as active? And what's her movement like? What does she do on a daily basis to take care of her body? So these, again, are the issues, the really fun topics to dive into that really make it about more than what someone's eating. We really have to try our best to get the full picture and support her in all aspects of eating, and then again, see how it kind of ties in with everything else. So another thing, and this isn't a separate tip really, is that I like to say we need to look through her glasses when we're talking about food. And many of these issues kind of overlap. So again, that might mean back to what kind of diet type does she have? It might also mean, income level and what she's able to afford. So I'm in an area where I have access to working with very different populations, not just how they eat, but how they live, and, really kind of eye-opening and educational and humbling. So I feel like I have to literally put on different glasses when I'm working with different people in different places and different areas. We also do virtual prenatals, so working with women literally across the world and trying to get an eye into their culture and their lifestyle, and then just keeping those glasses on as best you can and learning to understand where they're coming from, because you can't make certain recommendations to certain people. You can, but they're going to fall on deaf ears, and that's really not what we want. We don't want people to feel confused or, like what we're offering them isn't applicable to their life. So put on those glasses as best you can and try to understand where she's coming from. All right, my final tip is that nourishment is not just limited to food. I think most of us are familiar with that idea, and I've touched on it by talking about movement. There are so many other aspects that you, even as a doula, could discuss or open up with the women you serve, because sometimes it's something that gets pushed to the background in pregnancy. We're so focused, our culture, on the physical. We want to talk about weight gain and fundal height, but what about all the other ways she can and should be taking care of herself? That's also nourishment. And it's, again, not to go on a segue here, but why mainstream prenatal care is so ineffective, and many women don't find it very useful because it doesn't address those kind of things. We need to support women in what else is nourishing for them, and that's actually one of my favorite and most simple questions. What would nourish you today? Or what would nourish you in this area of your life? What kind of movement would feel really nourishing? Nourishment is the theme, and movement is even a great example of how pregnancy really changes our needs and our expectations of our body. So someone that maybe was a marathon runner before pregnancy, does that still feel nourishing? It's a great question to ask. In our doula course and in our own work with pregnant women, Margot and I both have used this visual of a flower and its petals. So can't draw it right now, but imagine a flower center, which is that woman, and the petals. And she gets to determine all the ways that she's nourished in that flower. So again, movement. Nutrition certainly is one, but it's not the only, and it's not necessarily the most important for some people. Spiritual nourishment, maybe relationship with their partner, maybe outside relationships and friendships, maybe whatever kind of nourishes her soul. Maybe she's an artist, or maybe doing yoga or meditation, or who knows what. So it's the opportunity to talk about more than food, because you'll find in working with women that food never stands alone. As we've talked about, it's so layered, it's so personal. And so we're constantly trying to sort of pull apart our understanding so we can support her better. So I hope that was helpful. Margot and I aren't here too much on Instagram. We have a lovely manager, Lily, who's taking care of our account, but we will appear here once a week or so and hopefully just blab and connect with you all about some really important topics. So thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.